looking for her wallet and never found it.
Hey everyone, this is
At the location?
Yeah. Sorry
No.
guys. Hey everyone, this is Doc here at the Gamer Suits channel with Game Time once again every Tuesday from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I'm here with my co-hosts Lurch and Angel. Angel will be leaving us soon. He's starting a new job that unfortunately conflicts with our time schedule, but we get him for a couple more weeks, so we're going to value him while we have him. We cover anything and everything going on in the nerdosphere, especially what impacts us here in the Ozarks, the Springfield, Missouri area and its surrounding environment. We all got together during the game convention is one of the things that linked us. That's why it's called Game Time, which is many people remember was the Gaming Arts Media Entertainment Expo. And we're still going strong. Lurch usually talks about console gaming. I talk about a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, comic books, older nerd movies and TV shows, a little bit of everything. And Angel likes to talk a lot about Dungeons and Dragons, and he's one of our resident experts when it comes to like kaiju movies and Marvel and DC properties too. So we have quite a bit of a discussion there in the media section. We're going to do a real quick sound check, and then we're going to get started. Check 1 2, check 1 2. Get started. Check 1 2, check 1 2.
Tickety check.
Started. Check 1 2, check 1 2.
Tickety check.
Yep, sound like a bird.
Check 1 2, check. All right. Hey, that sounds good. Okay, we're going to jump into the show, and we've got a couple of topics ready to go from each of my co-hosts here, and then of course I'll talk about some stuff from the vault and things of that nature. So let's see, what do we have first up? Looks like first thing we've got, and let's bring it up to the three-hoster. There we go. Is a farewell to E3 as we know it, Super Bowl of our video game fandom. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, everyone in console gaming at least, is really familiar with with the E3 Expo, Electronic Entertainment Expo E3. It's for a couple of decades was kind of this title here says, it was kind of like the Super Bowl or the WrestleMania or whatever. It was the big event of video games every summer. They'd have like thousands of people show up, and you used to have PlayStation, Sony, and Nintendo PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo, all three trying to show off their biggest things and doing live demonstrations and trying to showcase what the next year or two of their brands are going to be, and all kinds of live demos. Sometimes general public was allowed, and sometimes they weren't, and it was all media people. They had some fluctuations over the years, but it was the biggest thing to reveal big games for console games. And it looks like it's dead. They didn't have, because of COVID, they didn't have an event in 2020 at all. They just had to cancel that because it was in the summer, and it was March when the pandemic was shutting things down. And so they didn't have time to put anything else. And then in 2021, they did a digital presentation. And then and they haven't been able to put together a show again since. They took 2022 off. They were planning on coming back in 2023. But PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox were all already we were known to not be publicly attached to it. And over time, all the major publishers were either announcing they weren't going to be there or announcing that they were there at one point but have since pulled out. Early last week, Ubisoft and Sega both pulled out of E3. And by the time that happened, the word on the street was how long is it going to take for ESA to admit that they are not going to have an event this year? I honestly didn't think it would take this. I didn't think it'd be this quick. I thought they were going to try to hold out for an extra couple of weeks before they announced anything. But It just took them a few days after the Sega and Ubisoft drops to announce it.
Well,
and go ahead.
as we know from Game and a few other things like VisionCon and stuff, even before COVID, a lot of cons attendance was down, and then COVID killed a lot of cons
Yeah.
and stuff.
Well, YouTube kind of like killed a lot of it too, especially in the later. I remember whenever Nintendo started doing Nintendo Directs, like to announce their games and stuff like that. It was like monthly whenever they really started doing it like that, because people used to have to wait for these big events for all of these stuff, and like now Sony was the second one to like really start doing their directs, and then Xbox. I don't think Xbox ever really didn't do that. I think Xbox was sporadic. They would release their smaller games, and then like the big games were revealed at these expos. And like, but now it's just like, we got it for interesting information. Nintendo isn't even playing ball anymore. They're not going to wait to release for a big event.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Nintendo has started developing a game, alerting people that the game exists, not giving a date, and then when it's done development, they'll be like, yeah, it's in a month, or yeah, it's in a week, or you could buy it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
these are like
Yeah.
these big events like E3 don't fit Nintendo's framework anymore.
Yeah.
I honestly think that's the way it is for all consoles.
I think that is a lot more to do with it than the pandemic itself.
The pandemic is the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, because it was like all three of the major publishers, Nintendo, Sony, and Xbox, had already started doing their own individual things apart from E3 before the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And so then it was without the big three showing their hardware announcements and things. And even now, they were still typically showing things off in the summer around the time frame of E3, but not at E3. And a part of that was that the ESA, the people who run E3, reportedly were charging a lot of money to these companies to do presentation at their stages. And
they overestimated their own worth.
Yeah.
Well,
and so these companies were like, why would we pay that much when we can just rent out this space a couple miles down the road and do an independent presentation around the same time, still get the E3 hype by doing it in the same week, but not paying ESA to be a part of their actual event. And I think that was kind of the start of it. And then after that, the company started branching further out, going, why do we even need to do the big summer thing? We can do a spring thing and a fall thing, and just whenever we have things happening.
Because of the advent of the virtual con, yeah.
Yeah, because I think especially once they hit the convention stuff, or once the pandemic hit, and these companies still wanted to get out announcements of their things, and had to do some sort of a digital thing, and they saw how well that worked and how much cheaper that was, but still could get a lot of attention on what they were trying to do at the time. It kind of became
Facebook and a location to share their media, like Facebook, Twitter, iFunny even, are like these viral social, medias that can probably catch more eyes than someone watching a 4-hour event.
Yeah. And and it makes some of the other games that may not be the biggest titles not get lost in the crowd too. So it's better for indie games, I think. Because like Sony can do a presentation, they'll have one big game and then 10 or smaller games that get eyes on those, and people will watch that and they'll see all the other ones. And that being the one presentation, and people only got to think about those games for that week, is a lot easier than 3 days of back-to-back announcements and videos being put out from every company in the industry, all at once.
You don't have to worry about deciding which panel you want to go to. You know,
Yeah.
do you want to see Sony's big release or Nintendo's big release?
Like, yeah. And I'm a little bit sad on a selfish level because I've always dreamed of going to E3 one day. Getting to go in person and playing these demos and seeing, hopefully, hypothetically, maybe getting to meet some of these developers and stuff at this event and things. But in the long run, I think this is healthier for the industry. And a big reason why I think it's healthier for the industry is when all the big announcements happened in the summer, I think that did a lot to push all the big games to release in the fall. Because if you are going to reveal things in the summer the game doesn't actually release until the spring, memory of that starts to fade. And they want to try to keep people's attention on them at the right time.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think that Sony or Xbox are really like...
You're breaking up there.
Nintendo certainly is. Sony, can you hear me now? I should be. Good.
Yeah, up and down.
Can you... Okay. Sony and Microsoft still are not doing that. They're still putting release dates on their games.
Right. What I'm saying is they're not putting them all in this one season. They're not putting them all in the holidays like they used to.
Yeah.
Because before, and whenever it was when it was all about the E3, they would scramble to get something to present that summer, that weekend for E3, and then the things that are able to come out within the next 12 months, they want to get out in the next 6 months so that they're there for Black Friday, so they're there for the Christmas season. But with this more staggered approach, like they might do they might do a big reveal in the fall and be like, this game comes out in the spring. When they're doing their big gameplay stuff and things like that, or they got hardware that they're showcasing, and so they're able to release the information of the games when those games are actually ready to be shown, rather than forcing them to be shown in that one weekend. I think, so we get a better look at the games as they're in development instead of seeing as many cases of, this is what the game theoretically will look like whenever it's closer to ready.
And that also, the dip of that also was like games that, like I believe the thing is like a studio makes 3 games but release 1. It kind of like solves the problem of, oh, this game looks really cool. Where the fuck is it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so, it seems to me like as E3 has started to become less popular and these major publishers are relying less and less on it, the release schedule for games is a lot more evenly spread. Like in the past, we'd get a couple of decent games in like March, but like January was dead, February was dead, a couple decent games in March.
I never realized it, but you're right, dude. Like, you and I have had this time, like, where it's like, yeah, there's nothing coming out in the next 4 months.
Right.
Yeah.
And, like, where we'd, like, plan to play games together. We just never had, like, fucking, any games.
But here lately, there's constantly really great-looking stuff coming out. There's something to get hyped about, like, every month.
A more fluid release schedule. Yeah.
Yeah. And so instead of all of your favorite games coming out in either November, December, or March, they're coming out in January, February, March, April, May. They're just kind of all across July.
Well,
whenever they're ready, instead of like pushing them.
It's a complicated system that's been going on, but yeah, E3 has been holding game development back and creating a toxic work environment for games. They're a pretty big contributor for that. I agree. Yeah, I think. I think. It should have happened a long time ago.
Not to mention the crunch that these developers have to do to get a presentation ready for E3. you know.
That's what I meant by like a toxic work environment.
Yeah.
Like the expectations are heavy.
Well, and
so it's a bittersweet moment, I guess.
on the convention topic too.
I hated conventions. I'm sorry, like I hated watching 4 hours of stuff as well. Being able to see like just trailer without having to sit through someone speaking what was his name? Jaffe speaking for like 30 minutes, was annoying to me, and I was forced to sit through it. And it's just like everything seems better now that it's edited. You know what I mean?
What was you gonna say, Doc?
Well, and you guys might not have realized this, but talking about the convention scene, even Gen Con, which is like the second largest convention pretty much in the world, has been in talks for the last 10 years to either cancel the con or split it into two smaller seasonal cons because of the fact that con attendance and popularity is going down across the board. The only one that's bigger than Gen Con is San Diego Comic-Con.
You know what the issue is? You know what the issue is? It's no longer cool to be a nerd. It is now expected.
It's respected to be a nerd. It's respected and expected to be a nerd. Everybody goes to nerd cons now, but the cons are just no longer becoming fashionable because you can see it on Twitch broadcasts, YouTube broadcasts, TikTok shares.
That kind of stuff is like it's. I don't think it's that because that's exposure. People want to have the fun that they're seeing other people have. The issue is people aren't having fun. Conventions, we got and in like what happened to Atari games happened to conventions. So many conventions popped up in the same decade that a bubble burst, and something that used to be a quirky, unique thing for a group of people to enjoy their specific tastes in is now a widely cool thing to do, but because of that, it's less fun because there's not. I don't feel like people are putting as much effort into cons, or they're putting too much effort in. I watched I've never been a brony. I've seen one episode of My Little Pony, but I watched a documentary, 3-hour documentary about the very last BronyCon and the events that led up to it. And I've watched a lot of the smaller convention documentaries talking about it. And the one thing that's in common is there's just too many, and they're not different.
It's an oversaturation. One of the things to keep in mind is people have a finite amount of loose money and a finite amount of loose time. And and then when you have, if you have, 10 times more conventions that fit you and your friends' interests, instead of everyone coordinating and going to the same one, now they're all branching out. And a big part of the fun of conventions is hanging out with your friends and people you don't see.
Not to mention, because the cost to put them on is going up, they've gone up in price 10 to 15%. And in addition to that, they've become mostly vendor fairs, less and less activities, and more vendor space is being rented out. And so they're just trying to sell you stuff. And like you said,
I remember going to a Renaissance festival, and it was just a shitty Renaissance festival near Poplar Bluff. It's just a bare Renaissance festival. But they had flame jugglers, they had body painters, they had henna artists, they had people who would like archers and trick shots, and there was no shortage on any hour of performers willing to perform, and it was just a fucking regular Renaissance festival. And I've been to a Renaissance festival near here a couple of years ago, and it was kind of shitty. It was a bigger convention. You could tell that they had more money, but aside from looking nicer visually, they had nothing there.
They had more vendor booths and less actual activity.
Yeah, more vendor booths, more food booths, and they like it was interesting because like I was there for like an hour, and there was like an announcer guy on like with a piece of paper, and he switched out with someone, and that person only did it for like 10 minutes, and then gave up. And for the rest of the day that we were there's no announcer guy, even though there's supposed to be one. And it's just like, that's the level, and I've been to several Renaissance festivals. It's just been, over time, it's been,
it's dying out.
like more and more money's going into these things and less activities. It's strange.
Yeah.
And you see it with a lot of conventions and stuff. They allocate more and more space of the convention hall to actual vendors, less space to the activities that really keeps people there. It's one of the things that I always thought was a big crowning jewel about Game was that we had activities using 90% of the hall.
Yeah.
And we even rewarded activity participation with our Polybuck system so that they could get in on the auction later on the more they participate. So
Yeah.
that was one of the key features. Unfortunately, Game, like other cons, has gone the way of the dodo, and it sounds like E3 is doing it too.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. That's the climate nowadays.
Now,
See, here's the thing. Atari killed the video game industry until Nintendo came along. We just don't know what the next Nintendo convention is going to be.
it's Summer Games Fest. That's
Is it really?
Yeah, Summer Games Fest is the replacement of E3. Funnily, I can't think of the right adjective there, but
Seriously.
Yeah, ironically, maybe that's the right adjective for this. The guy who's in charge of Summer Game Fest used to work on the old expos, the E3 expos. But he had some kind of a falling out with them, and so he started doing his own stuff. And and his stuff is growing year over year. He's responsible for the Summer Games Fest in the summer and the Game Awards in December. And then sometimes he has other little things here and there. It's all put together. I mean, the main guy behind it is Jeff Keighley. And he's been really, something about Jeff Keighley is he's extremely passionate about video games. Like, in a lot of ways, modern ESA leadership feels like they're more interested in just trying to make a ton of money or whatever it is they're going on about. But Jeff Keighley, when you see him on camera talking about video games, he's all about the games. Like, he gets on stage and he'll be like, I can't wait for you to see this next developer. They've been working on this thing, and you can see in his eyes that he really is excited about what he's about to show you or whatever.
If you need really passionate organizers. Yeah. Someone like Chris Stewart, who worked with us in Game. I mean, he was the hardest working man in show business. That guy did everything. Passionate about all of it, but he was just real burnout.
I'll add that Summer Games Fest, at least, is a all digital event.
Right.
And so, they have a stage, and they'll come out on stage, and they got, a whole, screen wall thing, and they're, showing stuff, and they have guests there, presenters and stuff, oftentimes, but they don't have, sometimes they'll have a live audience, I think, but oftentimes they don't. But they do a lot of announcements and stuff.
I think that's not quite what I was talking about. When I said there's going to be a new Nintendo of conventions, I think I meant conventions.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Okay.
There's going to be.
I was just talking about E3.
Yeah, I was conventions are dying. E3 is at its heart an expo, a convention. The part that the whole point is the thing that excited people was that they were able to go have fun with their friends, dress up as their people, meet people that they love the work of. Like it's an interactive event, and it feels less and less interactive generally. And I think that with every bubble that pops, there's a new king on the hill. And whether it comes out immediately or a little after.
I mean, when you're talking about conventions as a whole, that's a really broad spectrum subject because there's so many different kinds of conventions and things.
Like a version of like E3. Obviously, it's not going to be E3, but like some kind of like interactive forum for people to experience electronics, video games, the next stuff like that. That's a big important niche that's not being filled in the way that E3 filled it.
Right.
And like there's no hands-on. Like VR is so it's still a growing industry, and it's like like it's all segregated into different.
Sure. Okay. So Summer Games Fest and Jeff Keighley's work has been growing into taking over that space. Some people are even suggesting that Jeff Keighley is who killed E3. And we don't know what exactly happened behind closed doors because he did used to work with E3 and dozens, and he started building these other things that, as E3's been going down, his stuff has been going up. Both in viewership and in the size of the announcements he gets to present and things like that. And whenever the news came out about E3 being canceled, like within minutes, maybe an hour, he like posted a picture of like his first time working at an E3 or something so many years ago, like 15 years ago or something. Talking about how he remembers his first E3. Anyway, here's Summer Games Fest coming up this June. We are still on.
I mean, digital event, I don't think it'll have the same feel. I mean, like, it'll present stuff to us, but, like, there's no hands-on event. There's no,
not at this one, no. Like, not right now, but this is still, like, kind of a growing thing. But,
gotcha.
now they do get people to come in person at the Game Awards in December. A lot of those are usually, it's like kind of like the Oscars of video game development, and so they got like voice actors and programmers and developers, artists, writers, and all that from the video game industry there to accept awards and things.
And isn't there also Evo for the fighting games?
Yeah, I mean there's that. There's Evo, which I think PlayStation now owns. But yeah, there's still the fighting game tournaments. But what I'm saying is yes, this June, Summer Games Fest isn't quite what E3 was. But if anything is going to become what E3 was, or anywhere close to what E3 was, it's going to be something Jeff Keighley puts together. Whether it's Summer Game Fest or something else. Summer Game Fest is around the same time that E3 used to be.
Jeff Keighley is a great person. I know exactly who you're talking about. We all watch E3 ever since we were young. But I'd be excited for new blood too. Someone else to take over the space.
You just find somebody passionate about it that's got the free time to put into it.
Yeah, and I think Jeff has been kind of clear. Like people have suggested to Jeff that he names his something that he's working on as like Keighley's Game Fest or something like that. But he's been very upfront about how he doesn't want it to be about him. He wants it to be about the games. And I think that's in part because, he fully hopes for it to live on beyond him.
Yeah.
And
he wants to focus on the game.
He's the guy that has the connections, and he has the reputation, and he has the trust of people
to get the back
to do this right, to do this kind of stuff right. That's why he's been as successful as he has been with all this.
Mm-hmm.
And like his summer.
I'm legitimately afraid of putting any one person at the helm of holding up an entire industry.
Yeah.
That is a bad idea.
Disaster. Yeah.
I mean, he's not holding up the entire industry. He's holding up this
I mean, he's holding up
goal.
he's holding up at the moment the only viable pillar of the industry.
I was going to say he's a
And I'm
he may not be the only
saying
one, but
yeah, we probably need new blood, someone younger, someone with newer ideas to revitalize the scene, not do it like E3 or like have that feel. Because ultimately, no matter what he does, it's going to be Jeff Keighley.
like they say in building structures, you need a minimum of 3 pillars to be stable. So yeah, you need more people to rely on than just one, because it's easily toppled otherwise. Anyway, we're going to move on from this, but it's important information to have had, and we're going to go to Angel's topic, which is Dungeons and Dragons explains exactly what 1D&D is and defines backwards compatibility.
So, I mean, I do feel like this needs to be reiterated because people are looking at 1D&D as like something new. They renamed it. It's still, apparently, internally, 1D&D is just their future for 5th edition and their hopes to just make add on to 5th edition forever. Is what their new statement based off of the new creator talks have been. And, according to the people who were there, it's not going to be it's not going to be 5.5. It's not going to be 6. It's going to be 5th edition, and they say that they're going to be releasing core books, the Monster Manual, Player's Handbook, and the Dungeons Master's Guide, in order to include the new wording for things, but everything should be compatible. If you were to use a Moon Druid, if you were to play in the same party as a Moon Druid from the 1D&D play set and the 5th edition play set, they recognize both as legitimate in that one thing. So neither druids are wrong in the new in the 1D&D.
So
and they're also they're gonna be releasing the 3 core rules first, and then after that they're gonna be reintroducing Xanathar's and Tasha as a new rule book, the supplementary rule book, introducing the new terminology. And the monster manual is going to include higher CR creatures, and it's going to include the revisions of these creatures to make them viable for 1D&D going forward, but you could still use the creatures too. And it's all backwards compatible.
Right. Which I think is important, because there's a lot of people that get really upset every time a new edition comes out. Even though games have to come out with new editions in order to stay financially viable, this is a better stroke for Wizards of the Coast, especially after the debacle they had with trying to change their OGL, pissing a bunch of people off. Something like this is a good olive branch to try to venture some goodwill in the community.
I mean, this was stuff that they said in the beginning of 1D&D, but I think that this is to reiterate that, is it's all going to be good. If you play using the original, if they play using the original Player's Handbook, that's valid. All that information is going to be good. They're going to be releasing a booklet that is kind of like all races are now lineages or whatever, species. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a one-to-one comparison. You see this word, it really means this word, and that's going to be the translation for 1D&D in particular. And then moving forward, that's just going to be the thing. But, Tasha's and Xanathars, they said, are different because they're already using, aside from the word race, they're already, on the fastest track to already be 1D&D. Apparently, they've been working, since Tasha's and since Xanathars was released, they've been working on 1D&D.
Right.
As a concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
so we're already in 1D&D territory already.
Yep. And let's see. That was that. Let's see. We did the E3 thing. That was a relatively short one. I didn't have any major direct stuff this week except for my From the Vault, but I did have a couple things to mention from the Vault. Let's see. Where's my From the Vault thing? Is that? No, I thought I had it on here. Anyway, the show I was going to do for From the Vault this week is The Pretender. I don't know if any of you watched The Pretender. It was about a genius child raised up by a place called the Center, who had the ability to basically step in and be anything, a chef, a neuroscientist, a surgeon, and because he's a genius, he basically ran simulations for the Center, and then he finds out that the Center uses simulations in wartime situations and stuff, and to kill people, so he escapes, and he goes around helping people now to try to right the wrongs, that to balance the scale from all the things he did, while he's also trying to find his parents, because he's not sure if he was kidnapped from his parents, if they died, what happened to bring him to the Center, because he doesn't remember back then. So this guy Jared is running around, and he's being chased by members from the Center who are trying to bring him back in. And it's one of those super genius characters going out and doing things. It's a nice little nerdy show, and it's currently available on Amazon Prime. In addition to The Pretender, I've also watched a couple other things this week. Big one was I started watching again No Ordinary Family. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen that. This is a Michael Chiklis TV series. It stars Michael Chiklis and I can't think of the name of the girl, but she was Darla on Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Callisto on Xena Warrior Princess. But they are a regular family who end up getting superpowers, and it's an early Greg Berlanti production. And also, the daughter from the show is Kay Pennebaker, Danielle Pennebaker's younger sister, who also happens to be genius. She graduated high school at age 13 and had her BA in history by the time she turned 18. And she was valedictorian when she graduated at age 13. So, but she plays the daughter on No Ordinary Family, and you can find that on the new ABC.com app, which is free to stream. So that's another one. And if you like Michael Chiklis, who, as a lot of you know, played in The Shield and also played one of the iterations of Ben Grimm in the Fantastic Four movies. He's the bald white guy that played Ben Grimm from The Shield and all that. He plays the father, who his main job during the day is as a police sketch artist, while his wife is a biologist and scientist, and his best friend is a district attorney, and that's the one person he confides in when he realizes he gets superpowers. And his wife confides in her assistant, who's a super nerd. Like, she keeps a miniature figurine of Kitty Pryde on her desk. So, she's like a major nerd. And the son starts out with a developmental disability, so he's slow, not extreme, but he's slow, but then becomes a super brain. And the daughter gets telepathy. So those are their power sets. Hers is the wife gets super speed, and the husband gets strength and near invulnerability, and the Hulk super leaping capabilities. So it's a pretty standard power set for most of your like family sets. It's been duplicated a few times, but it's on the ABC.com app, and it makes a nice little nerdy show. And it shows that Greg Berlanti's been doing great in this stuff for a while now. Greg Berlanti is just, I think he's a genius when it comes to putting out superhero-based TV shows. And this is one of his earliest ones, but he did really well with it. And
what was the show called again?
No Ordinary Family.
I've never even heard of it.
Oh yeah, it's on ABC.com. If you go there, the new ABC.com/unlocked, and click on dramas, and you scroll down to the ends, it'll be there. And it's only had like one season, maybe two, so it was short, but it was really, really good. And like I said, it's nice to see another Pennebaker, because Danielle Pennebaker from The Flash and Sky High and stuff, she's a great actress, but her little sister is actually pretty good too.
So the show came out in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
It got 20 episodes.
Yep.
Interestingly, the final episode is No Ordinary Beginning. That's the title of the episode.
Yeah.
The last episode. No Ordinary Beginning.
Yeah.
The actor Michael Chiklis or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
he was also on Breaking Bad, which I recently watched.
But yeah, he's been in a lot of things. The Shield, Breaking Bad. Like I said, one of the versions of Fantastic Four. Although most of that you saw him as Ben Grimm, but you did see him before he transformed, so you would recognize him. And that's mostly what I have. I do not have a Kickstarter this week, but that's okay, because I think we have a few things in media. And the first thing I think we really wanted to cover in media this week is our kind of spoiler episode for the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
If I can say, can you guys handle one thing, like whatever you're going to be doing first? I'm actually about to head into lab right now.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Then we'll go ahead and do the Flash and stuff.
Yeah, I got it. Got about 10 minutes to get there. So.
Okay. Well, then we're going to go to the CW verse or the Berlanti.
Yeah, let's do the Flash.
Now, the Flash was a great episode, and I rewatched it today. Of course, this is the long-awaited crossover episode with Supergirl, because it's got Nia Nal in it, Dreamer, who's been a runaway favorite character since she was introduced in Supergirl. So much so that she's also getting her own comic book line now, which the actress writes for, and more stuff. There even is still talk about possibly doing a Dreamer spinoff. Even now, with the Arrowverse closing, they might do a Nia Nal spinoff, because she's such a wildly popular character. And this episode kind of focuses on her and Iris for the most part.
Yeah.
Now, it starts off with Nia Nal in a dream sequence and losing her ability to manifest dream energy, but she comes across Iris in her dreams, and off screen she met Iris because Iris and Nia and Kara and her sister and Batgirl or Batwoman have been doing a monthly mimosa brunch together. That kind of started after the last episode of Flash, when she got to meet Batwoman, really, the new Batwoman, now this is a little bit later. They don't actually say how much later, but now suddenly
Yeah, I'm curious how much later it can be because, like, I think a couple of episodes they said something about how they're expecting for Iris to get pregnant in 3 months, and then shortly after that she's supposed to then write her Pulitzer-winning piece, but now she's pregnant and now she's getting her Pulitzer thing. But they're talking about how this is much earlier than it's supposed to be. Like things are happening much sooner.
From the original book, yeah.
Yeah, from the original timeline.
So many
well,
things have changed because they've messed with the timeline so much that.
Yeah, I feel like looking into the future is kind of like quantum mechanics, where you change the result by looking at it.
Yeah, especially since Iris did not want to be locked into the book anyway.
Yeah,
I think every quantum physicist agrees with you unanimously.
Well,
if you look at
the movie Paycheck, the Ben Affleck movie Paycheck, they didn't actually travel through time, but they had a device to view the future so that they make changes. And so that's just an example of how being able to view anything in the future, in essence, changes the past, so that the future is going to change. And it's a vicious cycle. It either does that or creates an alternative timeline. One or the other.
I was about to say, I think the only paradox option is like you create another timeline.
Right.
That's the paradox-free option.
That's the paradox-free option.
Yeah.
Although
or you're looking at a potential future timeline.
Yeah, or there's always the Back to the Future thing where you actually fade out in the future because of
Back to the Future doesn't follow its own rules.
Yeah, and also fading out doesn't make sense quantum mechanically or physically. You would the only way that
in the future to go back to change the past if you fade it out. Right?
Sure, it wouldn't have faded out because it never would have happened.
Right. Yeah, Paradox City, man, Paradox City.
Yeah.
But even within the CW, they're really loosey goosey with time travel. Like the Flash is a little like. Shoot, no, that's not even right. They apply the rules slightly differently and then ignore some of their rules pretty consistently.
Yeah, rules are ignored to protect the innocent. Exactly.
But yeah, like I mean, our kind of our biggest drama of this episode is Iris wants to feel like she deserved what she's doing because she feels like knowing the future and knowing she wins the Pulitzer for this and knowing she's going to raise these kids has kind of ruined the choice to her.
Invalidates it. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's not justified because she's already got it.
Yeah. So now she feels like she's not really earning it. It's just preordained.
Yeah, worthy of it.
And so she has that issue, and then Nia Null is like in the middle of trying to elevate her powers
to the next level,
but then loses access to her powers completely.
Mm-hmm. And they have an important dream journey for them to both find their truth within the journey. And while they're doing that, Team Flash is out there monitoring their vitals, and their body temperatures are burning out because of the fact that they're.
What is their powers, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, Iris has no powers currently, but she has shared the Speed Force before. Nia Null has the ability to take dream energy and turn it into like force constructs in the real world. Plus, she can dream walk and do some like stuff. They're even sometimes like almost seeing the future type of dream walking, depending on the time. But that's her main power thing is to manifest dream energy as solid constructs and things like that in the real world. So she uses like.
Plus, she can go into dreams and get information through dreams that help her with like solving crime and stuff too.
And she can talk to her ancestors who were previous dreamers to control the Dream Force. But her main thing is like in the physical world, she often uses the Dream Force to make like a spectral whip that she uses in combat. That's like her main thing. But she helps out Supergirl with that because she was introduced in the Supergirl series. This episode also at least makes reference to the Legion because when all this happens, the first thing Grant Gustin's Flash does is like, I got to call the rest of the Legion, see if they know anything, if Kara or Brainy or if somebody knows something.
I think you said League, but yeah.
The League, yeah. What did I say? I thought I said the League.
You said Legion.
Oh, Legion. I meant the League. Yeah. But he meant the League, yeah.
I was like pretty sure they mentioned the Legion a lot.
No, this is the League.
It's Supergirl.
Supergirl, they've mentioned the Legion a lot, yes.
Which Dreamer is from the Legion, or is from Supergirl, so.
Yeah. But the League started in Crisis on Infinite Earth here, and it was a promise kind of for the Berlantiverse that basically got dropped right afterwards, and they partly because of COVID. But we never really see much of the League again except during Armageddon when Black Lightning guests on the Flash, and they do it in the League roundtable room.
Yeah.
But otherwise, they kind of dropped the ball on that, and a lot of us were disappointed because I wanted to see a League of Superheroes show. Especially,
I mean, we already have that with the time traveling. Right?
Legends of Tomorrow.
Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean,
slightly different.
They're practically the League. They're practically the Legion.
But the Legion is actually referred to quite a bit in Supergirl because Brainiac 5 comes back from the future to help everybody out, and her one friend, which I can't think of his name right now, goes forward to help the Legion.
My understanding of that show was that it was the Legion of Superheroes. Legends of Tomorrow, which I know it wasn't. I know it wasn't, but I mean, like they filled a similar role.
They did, but a lot of teams do that.
Did they? Does the Legion of Superheroes is their whole thing to protect the timeline?
No, see that's the thing is.
They fight threats through time.
Yeah.
To some extent.
And that's what Legends of Tomorrow did in the first few seasons.
Right.
Like it was practically the same purpose. Even though they had some villains, it's still like
they were kind of like the Legends of Tomorrow were kind of like DC TVA, only wasn't wiping out timelines to preserve the timeline.
Right. Yeah, they were the TVA of DC. But anyway, this one also...
I'll be right back.
Go ahead. This one also had a little minor stuff in dealing with Keon and Chillblaine.
Oh my God, yeah.
Because Chillblaine has a very like romantic dream about Keon, and then so he takes her out on like a day, but then he refuses to do anything she wanted to do because he wants to do all the things him and Frost used to like to do, because he was pretty much trying to turn her into Frost, and it basically ends up hurting Keon's feelings.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. They got into a big fight in the at the bar, and all the patrons in the bar were basically heckling Chillblade for the way he was treating Keon.
Right.
And she's like, "You're trying to turn me into Frost, and I'm not her." So yeah, I think people think we're picking up on that's Frost's twin sister, and he's trying to make and I mean she even mentions that Frost is dead and or whatever. She tells that to the group out there.
Right.
And so he's like, I'm sorry, I had a dream. And there's a guy in the background like, a dream? What the hell is wrong with this guy?
Yeah, so that was one of the main side. It was like a side quest for
Yeah, that was plot B.
That was plot B, and that finalized in the final scene when he showed up to apologize and basically officially leave the series because he was going to only be in a few episodes. I don't think he's going to be a season regular from this point on. But
Yeah.
there's only a few episodes left anyway. We're about
Uh,
halfway through the season.
yeah, I was gonna say this is episode 7 of 13 for the season, so we've only got 6 episodes left.
Yeah, so we're just past the halfway point. We've got lots more coming because we've got Stephen Amell coming back. We're still supposed to get a few other nifty things. We're supposed to get at least one other appearance by Red Death because the Red Death thing is not supposed to be completely over with yet, although that's supposed to be like book 3 of this season. So that'll be in the finale. I do not know when Robbie Amell comes back, but I think it's supposed to be episode 9 from last I heard. So we got a couple episodes till we see Robbie. I mean, not Robbie, Steven. Robbie's his younger brother who played the original teenager version of Firestorm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
so
was
we've got the next episode is called Partners in Time. Apparently there's a mold inspection at Star Labs that leads to unexpected time anomalies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
maybe Green Arrow shows up in the time anomalies. Who knows?
I don't know, but he's supposed to be in episode 9. Next episode would be episode 8, so I'm not sure if he'll show up yet. Unless he's teasing at the very end.
I didn't expect him to show up in that. I'm just...
Yeah. This could be the one, though, if it's time anomalies, it could be the closing of the threads from Legends of Tomorrow, because they are supposed to tie up the Legends during these 13 episodes. They're supposed to tie up the Blue Beetle thing in here at some point.
Blue Beetle?
Remember when Blue Beetle showed up at the very last episode of Legends of Tomorrow?
You're thinking of Booster Gold.
Booster Gold, not Blue Beetle. Thank you. I don't know why I said Blue Beetle.
Well, Blue Beetle just had a trailer drop yesterday.
Right, that's it. But Booster Gold, they're supposed to tie up the Booster Gold thread sometime in these 13 episodes. So if next episode is a time-related one, chances are it's probably going to be the Legend of Tomorrow wrap-up episode.
Maybe Partners in Time.
One to 2 episodes at most is all they're supposed to get to wrap up Legends of Tomorrow, because we really didn't get a good wrap-up.
I'm kind of getting the impression that the last half of this, after the end of the Mask of the Red Death Part 2, I'm kind of getting the impression that the rest of this show is mostly about, like, tying up loose ends and showing people's, like, the end of their stories of how they're living happily ever after or whatever it is that's going to be going on.
It's supposed to have 3 books, which is typical for a Flash season. They usually have 3 different acts or 3 different graphic novels, as they call it. The first one was The Mask of the Red Death. The second one, which includes the filler episode with Luck Girl, is like wrapping up loose ends from other DC properties and stuff. And then the third one is supposed to wrap up the Flash and bring Red Death back again. That's what I anticipated. They could bait and switch this and change it out a little bit. Speaking of, before we go on to the next one, there is one of the showrunners from Titans was talking the last couple of days, and it said he is expecting a possible revival of Titans after it ends, because the ending of Titans was in the works before Gunn and Safran came in, and Gunn and Safran may be interested in giving him more room to play in the Titans and even possibly the Doom Patrol playground. So shortly after it ends, we might get a revival series. So fingers crossed on that. It may just be an idle pipe dream, but it may not. So that's something to look forward to. Now, Gotham Knights, we'll go to Superman last. Gotham Knights was another couple of interesting episodes, because I don't think we talked about the last one last week, but really the main impetus of this episode was the Robin takes out the leader of the mutant gang, and which is something that Batman had never been able to do, and then she lets the police take credit for it, and then his gang starts causing major mayhem and taking it out on the Gotham PD, and which makes her super guilty. And so her and the young Wayne Ward, I can never remember his name, go do one thing while what's called the blonde girl that's the tech savvy one, the computer girl, and the twins go off to do.
Wait, were two of those people twins? I remember them being siblings. I didn't remember them being twins.
They're not identical twins, but they're supposed to be. I think they're supposed to be twins. Anyway, I'm going to call them the twins, regardless. The brother and sister are they're going off to do a side junket, and you know what? I started to rewatch today, but I fell asleep, so I forget what their side junket is. But I know that Bruce's Ward and Robin are going to go handle things. Oh, wait, the blonde girl ends up going to one of their fancy dress-up balls with the guy that had covered for her last episode, and it said that he had been the one to hack the banks instead of her. So her payback for that was to be his date to that. And then Robin and Batman Jr., I guess we're going to call him because I can't think of his name ever.
Yeah, maybe just Junior.
Just
so it's not as many words.
Robin and Junior, until I get his name stuck in my head, where he's going to be Junior. Robin and Junior find out that they're going to be detonating a bomb at the big fancy to-do, and so they have to call her, and she's like, she answers the phone and says, "Don't worry, it's a total snore fest," and he's like, "No, you need to get out of there now because they're going to be letting loose this bomb with like a bioagent or whatever in it and stuff." And so that's the big like side plot. It's still not really drawn a whole lot of interest in from me yet, but I heard that a lot of the people that saw the first 6 episodes said that didn't do it. So hopefully past the first 6 episodes, it'll start to catch its stride, but it's really going kind of slow. Kind of reminds me of how Naomi started. It just didn't.
If I remember correctly, I believe it's been confirmed that this show is not getting a second season.
Not unless it gets major rating bumps after the 6th or 7th episode. If it finishes out really strong.
My understanding is it's not even a ratings thing. It's a reshaping of the DC television and movie lineups. Yeah. But I don't know. But yeah, I think I read somewhere that they've already notified people that there won't be a second season.
But it's also an Elseworld, so that means
Yeah.
you have to follow the TV lineup exactly. So if it ended gangbuster, it might end up getting another season, but I doubt it. On the other hand,
I honestly, I wasn't able to talk myself into watching episode 2 this week. Like, I opened it up and then I was just like, I decided to go out and clean the garage instead.
yeah, it's getting to be where it's just not it's not grabbing you, and that's too bad because it's got Misha Collins in it, and he's really
Yeah.
good. And the girl that plays the Joker's daughter, I think, is really, really good. But the rest of it is just kind of wishy-washy.
Yeah.
The Robin is not really engaging. The computer tech girl is a little engaging. The twins are just milquetoast. I mean, really, the only two characters that are really worth watching are Misha Collins as Harvey and Joker Jr.
Yeah.
You know, and that's it. The rest of them are just like not even worth watching mostly so far. So it's probably going to go the way of the dodos. Now, on the other hand, Superman and Lois, of course, Lois starts handling her cancer this week. So she has to go to her first appointment with chemo, and she keeps avoiding it. That's the thing is that she ends up going on everything but her cancer appointment because she's just not really set to go because she's in denial. She still wants to do all the things she was able to do, like bring down Bruno Mannheim and stuff, and she doesn't want people treating her different because she's got cancer to affect her ability to do things. We also see John Henry make a new security system for Lana because, of course, last episode, Sarah snuck to a party in Metropolis, and she's all hurt, saying, why am I the only one getting punished when Nat went to the party too and she's not being punished? And hold on a second.
What's that?
Hey, Brent. Hey, yeah, I'm broadcasting right now, but I know you're coming tomorrow, right?
Oh.
Okay. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Get a call in the middle, huh?
That because it's my ride.
Nah.
Right.
So
anyway, but
I love how the teen girl's like, why am I the only one in trouble? And like mom's like, because you're the only one that lied. Like,
she told her dad where she was going. That's the thing. I mean, there's no reason for Natalie to be punished. She actually told her dad where she was going. On the other hand, Sarah went all the way to another city without telling mom. That's the instant punishment. You know, it makes perfect sense for Natalie not to be punished when she gave the deets. It's not like they both said, oh, I'm staying over at the other one's house, and then both went to a party, which is what usually happens in like a John Hughes film. No, this was like Sarah was totally in the wrong, and Natalie was totally in the right.
Yeah.
I mean, she's just butthurt because her mom's trying to control her. Guess what? You're a teenager. You're still going to be controlled for a few more months. You know, you may not like it, but that's how it works in the real world.
Yeah. I mean, to an extent, everyone's still most people are still controlled in adulthood when you have a job and
do you have to stay at home? Yeah, you stay at home. You work under home rule.
You have to work for years or be born rich to have no one be controlling you.
Right. But I mean, as a teenager, your mom or your dad or your parental figures control you at least till you're 18 or emancipated.
If they don't care about you, that's not necessarily the truth.
They technically control you. They may not actively control you. But the thing is, that's their
Yeah.
job as a parent. And so she's like totally in the wrong here. I'm like, how come she can't see that when she snuck out and went to a whole other city for a party? And there was alcohol
Yeah.
at said party. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
She's just totally
um,
there. But the rest
yeah,
of it starts out. The episode starts out with Superman having a Armageddon type dream where Lois is screaming, she's in trouble, and all of Metropolis is like crumbling to the ground and like some kind of like earthquake or something, and the big Daily Planet globe is getting ready to fall on Lois, and he's speeding as fast as he can, but just not getting to Lois in time before he wakes up in the cold sweat. And
yeah. Gosh, I don't know if I've imagined Superman having, nightmares that weren't caused by, an alien plant that makes you have them or something,
Right.
Some Mongol trick.
I'm sure Superman is riddled with nightmares. Like, the only thing, like, something I've noticed is people like Superman who are, like, workaholics are workaholics because they're stressed. And they feel like if they're not workaholics, then everyone around them is being let down, or in Superman's case, will die. And, like, that amount of stress manifests easily in bad dreams. Gosh,
Also,
I've always thought that Superman never has a good night's sleep.
Also, he cares that much about people and feels guilty for every person he doesn't save, and that is stuff you work out in your dreams, your nightmares and stuff. That's part of what nightmares are for, is to clean out that baggage. So he probably has nightmares
like the metaphorical message is basically he feels like he can't do anything to save Lois, and as he can't save Lois, his world is crumbling around him. It's kind of it's a little on the nose metaphor, but it works for TV.
Well, Sam's first line in this episode is there any Kryptonian tech that can help? He's like, wait a minute. And then
that's
he's like,
a very reasonable question. I was thinking about that too. I was like, maybe he's got some crypto tech that he can help with her, but no.
Yeah, but the first thing he did is he's like, well, I already asked my mom hologram, and she said she can't do anything. Cancer is still, I guess, something they can't do with the tech that he has available anyway.
Maybe Kryptonians just didn't get cancer because their sun was red instead of yellow. And they never developed a medicine for cancer.
Yeah, a red sun is an older sun, right? Or no, it's a new sun. Blue is older. So
I think you got
it wouldn't be as powerful.
I think you got it backwards, but it's weaker either way.
Yellow's
it's weaker. In real life too. But yeah. If it were the case that Kryptonians didn't get cancer, wouldn't Clark have gotten cancer?
No, because he's super powered by it.
Energized by
You're right.
They metabolize. That could also be the other thing. Their bodies, regardless of what the sun is, their bodies
metabolize solar
process. They process sunlight differently than human bodies do. So at the very least, they would never have gotten skin cancer.
Well, Kryptonians are not a human stock, even though they look humanoid. And cancer is when human cells mutate. They might just not be susceptible to that type of mutation.
I think we've seen, I mean, I think for Superman that's true. For most Kryptonians, they weren't super powered, so like maybe they're still susceptible to cancer, just not from the sun.
Right. They may not get skin cancer from the sun, but they still could get lung cancer.
I mean, it's an assumption, but I would think that if with the advanced technologies that Krypton has, you would think if they had cancer there, they've found cures for cancer.
Well, if
and breast cancer
that would have been the cancer. the episode.
Well,
Huh?
their cure for cancer could be done in the prenatal stage, though, where they change their genes, and it's not something they could do to an adult.
You're right. You're right. Germination is how people are able to manipulate cells. So yeah, you're right.
I mean, wasn't it? If I remember correct, I could be wrong, but aren't sharks immune to cancer? Like they don't get cancer?
There's a few.
I don't know if that's true. I think it's jellyfish that are immune to cancer.
Sharks
Either way,
because sharks don't.
The point is, if there's even one species on Earth immune to cancer, it wouldn't be hard to imagine Kryptonians could be immune to cancer.
Well, I think that the reason why jellyfish in particular are immune to cancer is because they de-age their cells.
Yeah.
Like, that's the reason why they're immune to cancer, specifically.
And
the reason why a cure for cancer in real life would never happen is because there are trillions of different kinds of cancers, and all of them are caused by different things.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and
here's a quick list. Here's a list of extremely cancer-resistant mammals. Naked mole rat, blind mole rat, elephant, and bowhead whales. So extremely cancer-resistant.
So cancer-resistant isn't cancer-free, necessarily.
No,
but sharks
could be cancer-resistant.
Well, sharks aren't mammals, but they're probably next to resistant because it is caused by a mutation, which is part of the evolutionary thing, and sharks have not evolved for, thousands of years.
Wait, did you list a shark? Lurch?
No.
That list only was mammals.
That was mammals.
Gotcha.
Right. And sharks are...
Listen, I'm not saying that Kryptonians can get cancer. I'm just saying there's no reason to think that if they don't have technology to fix it, then either that means that they were getting cancer at some point. I guess we'd have to look at the comics to see if any Kryptonians have ever had history of getting cancer.
Right.
Yeah.
And like we said, the running joke is she gets cancer because Clark kept using his X-ray vision on her. That's what it was.
There was a robot chicken. I think. Right. Oh no, it was a Family Guy skit that was talking about that.
Right. Anyway, but this is a good episode. We see a little bit more of the new Jonathan Kent in it. Not a whole heck of a lot though. His truck gets stolen. They end up stealing it back with Natalie and Jordan using her suit and Jordan using her powers. I'm trying to think of what the big bad was in this one. I can't for the life of me think of the big bad. But we do have some of Superman's blood identified at one of the scenes, and that could be an opening for a couple of things. It could be an opening of them because they were talking about needing a newer, stronger specimen than the previous one to make more powerful to fight Superman. That could be an opening for another kind of like a Doomsday type of character. Or
have they introduced Doomsday already?
We thought they were introducing Doomsday last season, and it turned out to be Bizarro. But they could do a Doomsday type of character, or the other thing they could do, which is very important because Lex Luthor is also supposed to be introduced this season, is Superboy, the clone of Superman version, which is popular from Teen Titans and everything, because that Superboy is not Jordan Kent. He's a clone that was manufactured by Lex Luthor using his technology company, which the name escapes me right now.
Connor.
What?
Connor. Yeah.
Yeah, Connor is the name of the Superboy. The name of the company that he uses to clone the DNA escapes me right now. Because it's not Star Labs and it's not Argus, but it's some other company that Luther Core owns that actually genetically engineers Connor, but then Connor ends up joining the Teen Titans when he gets rescued from that facility. And so that's a possibility going forward because with Superman's blood, they've got his DNA to work with, but they might do it in stages, like they might do a Doomsday type of character going forward sometime that Bruno Mannheim has help engineering, and then later on Luther might get control of the blood and eventually go the Connor route. And then maybe we'll get a new spin-off into a new version of the Titans because Connor is an important character in the Titans.
Connor's in the Titans already. Yeah, he's on the Titans series.
A new version of the Titans, it would.
Oh, I hope not. I don't want a second separate Titans show when we have an existing Titans show.
Or there might be, or they might try to link it at some point to this and say that that's in the future or something. I don't know. Yeah. But it's really an interesting take on some of the Superman and Lois milieu. And going forward, we're going to see a lot more. It's just getting better and better. Superman and Lois is just a great series. It's like if anything is going to survive the CW verse, even though it's not technically part of the mainstream CW verse, Superman and Lois is a good one.
Yeah, I think it's being isn't that one being produced by HBO people, but still being released on CW?
Yeah,
there's something weird about it like that.
And it's Berlanti is still in charge of that one. It's like the last one that Berlanti's directly working on. I think he initiated Gotham Knights, but he's not directly working on it anymore. But Superman and Lois is, and they've already said, Safran and Gunn have already said that they're okay with the 4th and 5th season of Superman and Lois to come out. So we may still get to keep them for a little while. And it's like a soft reset of the Berlanti-verse because of the fact that they can bring back different versions, a lot of the villains that they've already had, played by new actors with slightly different backstories because it is on a different timeline, a different Earth.
Sure.
Anyway, that's a great part of this thing, but we're going to go now into like the crown jewel this week, I think, which is finally the spoiler episode for D&D. Did you see it, Lurch? Please.
I saw all but about 15 or 20 minutes. So
did you have to run to the
close enough.
Or something at the very end?
No, I got an on-call for work.
Oh, and your phone was on because you were on call.
It has to be because I'm on call.
Because you were on call, you happened to go during that shift. Well.
Yeah. It was the one day I could fit it in with everything else going on was on the day that I was on call, and so it was a risk. And unfortunately, I got an on call during the film.
Good news is you missed a part that wasn't integral to the movie.
Yeah, I only missed everything about the Paladin and them getting the helmet and them talking to the dead people about the helmet and the whole most of Waterdeep.
You didn't miss the end. You missed the part in the middle there.
Yes, yeah. I missed a part in the middle.
Oh, okay. So you didn't miss.
But he was the reason. I went with you, Doc, to watch it, but Steph and Monica went with Lurch to watch it. So that was that happened.
I'm going to go see probably Super Mario Brothers or 65. One of those two.
You know what's funny? This weekend, all 3 days this weekend, I hung out with it's going to sound kind of weird, but I was like, I hung out with women for most of my weekend. Friday evening, I hung out with my friend Kylie for a bit. It was only supposed to be for a little bit, but then we just kind of got to chatting for a couple hours. like 3 or 4 hours. And then I saw my friend Laura Saturday, and we went and saw the Red Moon Studios show.
Okay.
That was doing a live show downtown.
Dancers, yeah.
And then Sunday, I took Angel's Ladies to see Dungeons and Dragons.
You know what's really funny?
Did
I'm
Squirrel
kind
go
of like
with
in
you?
the same boat, and I'm kind of in the. I'm sorry, what?
Did Squirrel go with you?
No, she's on chemo and is afraid to go out when there's people about. So she stayed home.
I know she really wanted to see it.
It's funny, but I was the same way. I went to Martha's in order to. I went to Martha's for a drag show, and I hung out with almost exclusively women for that.
Ladies' men, you.
I'm sorry.
You ladies' men. Oh my God. Born to be a player. No.
And then Saturday, so that was for a birthday party, and then Saturday I hung out with my friend Erica and her wife Amy, who I helped marry, and we all did a campfire thing for there in Marshfield, and so I had a weirdly woman-filled weekend too.
I didn't even think about it until the movie on Sunday.
Well, we did skip our normal thing about what has happened with everybody for the week.
Yeah.
But again,
we had eventful weeks actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This weekend, like I said, I'm either going to go watch 65 or the Mario movie. I'm still waiting on Ralphie to decide which one he would rather see.
2 days ago, if you don't mind me, I do feel like I need to say this. We actually haven't made it a habit of talking about our campaign, only once in a while. My wife died. Her character died.
Oh.
Yeah.
Rip.
Yeah. Disintegrated by a beholder, so I stabbed her to no, I'm just kidding.
I love beholders.
The stakes are real. Yeah.
If you die in the game, you die in real life.
That's a reality show for life.
That makes death in the game really matter.
Reality show for the in the spirit of the Running Man. Oh my God.
So she got disintegrated to ash.
But back on D&D, because there's so
much. We were on D&D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But back on the movie.
Yeah. This movie is so goddamn fun.
It was a campaign squeezed into the time of a movie. It's got all the ups and downs of a D&D campaign.
Sometimes I'll walk out of a Marvel movie and be like, that was fun, but it feels, weird. I didn't feel that at all in this campaign. It felt amazing and fun to watch.
Anything actual campaign.
The things that were changed that aren't like rules legitimate were changed to make it more fun, and that's like the changes you want to see in it.
Right.
Yeah.
They were very much
house
rules.
Yeah.
The house rules are great. You had the introduction of the main characters in a kind of a bind, using a very creative way to get out of jail, only to find as they get out of jail that they were pardoned.
They really set the tone when they were breaking out of jail using the Aarakocra, and they're like, "But we pardoned you. We approved the pardon.
We approved your pardon."
You know what's fucking great is they had a Dragonborn. It looked beautiful. That was a great looking dragon.
Yeah, Dragonborn was great.
And they had an Aarakocra, like you said, and that looked great. They also had they called it a cheat. They had a Tabaxi, and it looked fucking garbage.
And the baby Tabaxi looked, if anything, worse. I mean, they were both terrible.
I was just thinking, I was like, man, they keep being determined. I love how they had that classic comedy trope of misdirection, because they keep talking about how Jonathan will get them out of there. And the way Chris Pine, the way the Bard talks about Jonathan getting him out of jail, it feels like it makes you think that he is like personal friends with them, or maybe the Aarakocra understand what they went through, because maybe the people they robbed are the enemies of the Aarakocra, and the Aarakocra would be like, oh yeah, you robbed our worst enemy. Let's pardon you, but it wasn't that. They just wanted to take advantage of his wings.
It was really fun because it was like there was they ran him through a window and had a very amazing looking fall, like a very action packed, well choreographed fall where they tell the Aarakocra, you got to open your wings to fly or we'll die, and he just like boom and like rolls on the fucking. It was amazing. And of course, an Aarakocra can't fly with two humanoids. And so that's and so like he just glided a little bit to the ground, and they all hit the ground, and they made sure he was okay. That entire scenario was so well choreographed. It was an awesome introduction to kind of like the world.
And Chris Pine's character totally exemplified the Bard with telling a story and tales and stuff. Throughout the movie, his bardic moments were very bardic moments. And it didn't go with the cliche, oh, he seduces everybody. It went with the...
No, he didn't seduce a single person, did he?
No.
Nope.
He didn't.
No, and the person that no one expected them to fall in love with, he's like, no, you're my sister. And I fucking love that. Right. He's like all about his wife.
Yeah, they didn't go with that cliche. Now, they did do the Lost Lenore cliche because his wife, they didn't give us a whole lot of details. We know she was kind of a sweet person, and she had told him that sometimes you got to let things go. But that's it. She didn't have any depth at all. She was very much a Lost Lenore trope.
I honestly think that was on purpose for the storytelling. Is like you're supposed to see her through his perspective as he's telling everybody she is. Like you're not supposed to be on his level. You're just supposed to understand his emotional attachment to her.
Right.
And that draws the because that makes his plot more relevant than who she was.
Exactly. Yeah. She was not important in her own right. She was only important in how she held up his plot. And they mentioned that at the end because they were like, he was like, you know what? I wasn't trying to get back your mom. I was trying to get back my wife. Right. It's such a strong fucking statement to have when your entire character motivation is bringing back this person that your daughter doesn't even fucking know. It's purely selfish motivation. And that sets up for the final part where they end up bringing Holga back, who is the mother figure for Kira.
Yeah.
Yeah. She is the only mother she knew.
We saw Holga with his daughter way more than we saw him with his wife.
She was the only mother figure she had. Really.
And that was the reason why I don't think it was a Lost Lenore situation. I think it was on purpose. We're supposed to jive more with Holga than we are his ex-wife. Ex meaning dead.
It was a purposeful Lost
Lenore situation.
It wasn't a negative trope. It just was done for very specific reasons. And that was the thing. They had an obvious DMPC character, which is the Paladin. He's very much a DM plant character that's only there to get you through.
I thought that immediately because, and I think that was on purpose because the second he came on board, all player agency went out the window. Nothing anyone else did mattered. He was the only one who had any level of control in that entire situation.
Well, except for when somebody triggered the bridge collapsing. That was agency. That's just bad agency.
Well, yeah, but like in terms of like, I know where we're going. I know what we need to do. I'm gonna fight all these bad guys. I'm gonna get the helmet. I'm gonna get us out of here. Those are all DMPC. Like a really like the thing you don't want in a campaign. is like an all-powerful PC who
but you do get
does everything
of it every once in a while to carry the story along, and it was used well in this. It was.
No, I agree. I think that it was used as a, well, I mean, like, I guess I'm trying to determine what you mean by appropriately, because I do believe that this entire movie is representative of an actual campaign and the chaoticness of it in a movie format, and DMs who cannot separate like the story that they know is supposed to happen from the PC, which is why DMPCs never work in a campaign if they're going to stay with the party for any length of time. And so, that's why you always have to take a backseat. A good DMPC takes a backseat to the players. A bad DMPC takes control of the scenario and the situation. So when he was taking them to another city, another part, like taking the helmet, all of these amazing feats are being done with the DMPC while everybody else is sitting back. He even told them, and this is the funny part, he even told them, I mean, this is such a D&D fucking moment, where you're like, I don't think you're supposed to like the fucker. I certainly didn't, and, like, I didn't like him in a fun way.
And, and that's why I say it was appropriate, because he also didn't stick around. He left.
Yeah, he left after a huge chunk of, like, what would have been in-game content.
Yeah, most of what his screen time was, I missed. Like, I had to step out when they were going to the grave to talk to the dead. And I came back, and the paladin was in a flaming sword fight against this undead assassin thing. Until a fat dragon showed up.
You missed him telling everybody what to do. Chris Pines was originally, the reason why I'm saying he's a bad version of a DMPC, and that was intentional by the writers to make him that way, is because a lot of players see that in their games. And so what happened was, whenever they finally found the paladin, they walked out of the village he was in with the paladin. The paladin rode up to Chris Pines, who is the leader of the group, and to the bard, and he started walking alongside and a little bit further than him, which is a visual representation of him taking control of the group. And then he's just shitting on Chris Pines the whole fucking time as he's, like, taking the lead. And at the end of it, when Chris Pines is like what am I supposed to do here? Then he just, like, goes up further, and he's just leading the group, brings them to where he left the helmet, which was a sizable distance away. Grabbed the helmet. The wizards attacked, and whenever the wizards attacked, he's like, "Don't worry, I got this." Really cool fight scene with all of these wizards, and then whenever he's done fighting and killing all the wizards, they hear the dragon, or not the dragon, the wizards, like, one of the wizards comes back, and the whole team is prepared to fight the wizards. And he's like, "Don't fight them, they're zombies, they'll just come back." And they all start rising again. And they're all looking at him like, "You just told us you take care of it, and you knew there were zombies? Why did you take care?" It's kind of like a DMPC moment.
It depends on what kind of way they did it in the campaign, though, because in a campaign, they might have made a lot of that a quick cutscene that the DM just talked through. But well, let me finish before you interrupt me again.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You keep doing it. The thing is that they made it more like what a DM would have done as an extrapolated cutscene, but then they did take him out after the main part of that, because that's what you do with the DMPC. You use him and then get him out of the way. And B, the final thing with the dragon, they made sure that Chris Pine came up with the idea to get them out of it, and Simon was the linchpin to do it. So they made sure that Chris Pine got them out at the end, not the paladin. And so if you, as a DM, had done that as more of a quick little dialogue cutscene where you described a lot of it, but you still let, like, for instance, Simon accidentally trigger the bridge and a couple of other things, like Simon using the hither-thither staff. You know, that's the right way to use a DMPC, but it depends on how they presented it at the table, and that's what I liked about this.
I would say if the DM interacted with it like, okay, you guys go to this place, this is a trap, this is how the trap works, and then someone accidentally does like a fail on their save and they just are on their ability check and like accidentally triggers the bridge immediately. And then immediately after that is like, hey, that's a really cool rod, you know, like whatever. And then if they're hand waving a lot of this, that's still kind of like a DMPC should never be making choices for the group. DMPC should only provide advice and not direction.
Unless, hold on, because the DMPC is not, it depends on if it's the active part of the campaign or not, because NPCs are often the guides for sections, and that's what he acted as, is the guide and the driving force for this subsection. So if they made
and
cutscene,
either way, cutscenes are bad too, because it takes away player agency.
No. We teach in DMing that you should use the cutscene. The cutscene, just don't use it a lot. That's the thing. You don't use it too much, but you do use that sometimes.
That whole stretch of time would have been a cutscene to make it work, as you're suggesting.
Most of it would have been. He allowed a couple of things for the players to do, and he did let Simon and Ed finish it.
I'm not. First of all, I'm not saying that was a bad thing. I think it was intentional that they introduced the DMPC the way that they did, because people generally see that as bad. And I think that you know, because there was player agency, it kind of proves that this wasn't just a hand wave endeavor. Like you said, they failed the stealth check or like whatever, the investigation on the bridge, and caused it to fall. They failed, or like they figured out another way by using the hither-thither rod. They, you know, Chris Pines did
So they found that staff in the Underdeep?
No, the hither-thither rod was a rod that they had that they introduced earlier in the movie when you would have seen it.
Holga, it was the walking stick that Holga got from her ex-boyfriend when she went to visit him. That was played.
Oh, you wouldn't have seen that because that was during the 15 minutes that you would have. Yeah.
Oh, you didn't see the Keeper either? Oh.
Yeah. The hither-thither rod was a walking staff that Holga got from a conquest that she had done to give to her halfling ex-husband as a walking stick, and he's just like, take it.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be.
Doesn't like to do walks, so.
It turned out to be a very powerful portal gun rod.
Yeah, I got to see it in use later, but I didn't see. I couldn't remember how they got it. But I know that for sure the sorcerer didn't have it when he got, you know, ambushed in that tavern or wherever it was.
So
scamming people.
I feel like it was intentional writing for that to be a bad DMPC because the players had agency, and I think that's a good thing. That's good writing that they did that, because like I was able to like catch up on it. Other people were as well.
At the end of the Paladins sequences, I guess, right? Whenever they were loose, they got out of the Underdeep, they were like on a beachside or whatever. Yeah. And he was saying his goodbyes. The bard was like saying something to him about how, you know, it's been great to work with him, but he kind of made everyone else kind of useless because he's a better fighter than Holga and a better spell user than our sorcerer and a better planner than me. And then he's like, the only thing you're not really better at is talking. You kind of suck at that. And I had to ask the girls after the movie, why didn't the bard say he sucked at talking? And they had to tell me that he didn't understand idioms.
He didn't understand.
I
didn't like sarcasm.
And that is another linchpin as to why I think the writers actively knew that was a bad DMPC, because the players didn't like him with their adventure with him. A good DMPC, players would probably want to play more with. You know, like a pet that they have carrying around with them.
You either love him or hate him.
And then he leaves, and he just walks in a straight line. And
I love that
which
straight
way is he going to go
line.
around the block? Oh, he went right over it. Just kept walking in a straight line.
I love that.
Another reason why I think it was intentional, because like DMs rarely ever like express exactly where these DMPCs manage to go to when they're finished with them. So much is so great. I'm sorry, Doc. I think I interrupted you.
That's okay.
We talked at the same time.
That one was fine. Yeah, I thought personally, from all my years of DMing, I saw that as the good use of a DMPC because of how they limited it. But yes, it might have taken a whole session to do that scenario. So in this case, that session would have been more the DM talking and everybody else listening.
That sounds like a bad D&D session.
Well, it's a less active D&D session, but it's not always bad. Sometimes the players want to sit back and hear part of the tale woven. It just depends, but the DM has to learn to judge when the players want that kind of break.
I found, at least in my campaigns, players tend to want to do things, and if I talk too long, people tend to lose interest. So I try to keep, like, for instance, during the Beholder battle, Ray, our tiefling bard, College of Whispers, has a boyfriend orc that she occasionally spends time with. And this orc came to the town that they were in at her request through Sending Stone, and did some stuff. And he happened to be there when they were about to go fight the Beholder. So he never outshone anyone. He was there for support. He was a body for the things to hit, and I allowed the players to thrive, and he never once stole the spotlight. And I think that is the best use possible for any DMPC. Lurch, did you ever feel like Malort ever overshadowed you guys at all?
No, he basically just kind of helped distract some of the minions. Is mostly what he did.
Yeah,
distract the
think
minions.
I think that's a great.
But enough of them for us to be able to maneuver around more and
yeah.
And we even cooperated with them because we would do flanking and things.
Not every group responds the same to DMPCs. The main thing is a DMPC, when used properly, advances the story and also puts the players on track when they have a tendency to go off track. But
I think you can have an NPC do that without it being someone who's walking with the PCs.
Well, and he was almost an NPC. But
oh no, he was very much a DMPC because I disagree with you.
There's very little to truly differentiate an NPC from a DMPC except
the difference between a DMPC and an NPC is an NPC is someone who gives direction and interacts with the players. A DMPC actively works with the players, is a part of their party, even if it is for a short amount of time.
Yeah, that's even an NPC versus a DMPC.
Yeah,
really
that is
because every villain in a way is a DMPC too.
Well, yeah, but they're not working with the player characters,
right?
And that is a big difference. It's like when your party when a god decides to be a party member.
Yeah.
And that's never a fun instance if they are ever an active part of solving problems, which should be the players to solve. Right. The DMPC should never direct a player or tell them how to solve those problems, or NPCs should be there should players want to ask them, or if a DM wants to give them a nudge in the direction. But an NPC should never, ever, ever actively tell players what they need to do or direct them. And that's what a DMPC is if they are actively with the group, fights and solves problems. There was an entire fight sequence where he alone killed 6 assassins. And, that should have never fucking happened. That's a bad DMPC.
It's not considered bad because It depends on how you use it in a campaign. It is
Well,
the thing.
and again, it takes away.
I think. Hang on. I think what Angel's saying is, in this example, in this scenario, it would have been a bad use of it.
Except for the fact that we don't know how the campaign would have gone. It might have been a 15-minute cutscene.
Sorry, go on.
It might have only been a 15-minute cutscene in the actual campaign where the DM talked for a little bit. It's just more detailed in the movie, but in the actual campaign, it could have been something real short.
If a DM monologues that an entire party is faced with a whole group of assassins and a DMPC comes in and kills all the assassins, that is removing player agency and never a good thing in any campaign.
The player agency is important, but the entire tale is not always player agency. There are segments in a good story that the players have no control over.
Can we stop arguing about the philosophies of D&D the game when we're talking about the D&D movie?
In that instance, I would like to talk about whenever we came back around for we haven't talked about the rogue.
I keep trying to softly bring us back to the movie, but you keep arguing, so I just got to bluntly say it. Stop arguing about the game.
hey, I moved on, dude.
Yeah.
I'd like to bring us back to the rogue a little bit. I never once trusted that fucker the second he became Lord of Neverwinter.
Well,
the open Neverwinter.
And all of the previews said he was the bad guy anyway.
I think he was a bad guy. He was just shown as the open Lord of Neverwinter. He was never shown being a bad guy or being in charge of bad guys against the group.
But
the second the bard described him as a, early in the movie, 5-10 minutes into the movie when the bard described him as a con man, I didn't trust him. I was like, this guy's going to be a bad guy.
You know what? Based on recent stuff in our campaign, Lurch, rogues generally tend to be backstabbers.
Yeah.
I think that that is the kind of scenario that a rogue would try to get to, is the DM has this plan, and he's like, yeah, so you're trying to impress this the open Lord of Neverwinter, and he's like, you know what? I want to poison the Lord of I'd like to poison Neverember, and I would like to forge documents so that I can be the fucking open Lord of Neverwinter. And that's something that someone would try to tell the DM, and DM is like, okay, this is a really high check, and the fucking if the fucking rogue does it, then he does it.
Yeah.
I think that is such a wackadoo, chaotic thing that I could see and have heard stories of happening in D&D.
Yeah. But like I said, in almost all the previews and all the announcements for the movie, they said Hugh Grant played the bad guy. They said that he was the main antagonist. So what
I heard about Hugh Grant was he's in the movie for 3 seconds.
Yeah, but he's actually in it longer than that. But
no, that was obviously a lie. But that is what I heard about Hugh Grant was he's in the movie for 3 seconds.
I had no one had any idea who the big bad was going to be. We suspected it would be Forge, but all material intentionally by Wizards of the Coast was to have Forge as a member with the Paladin listed as a party member of the group. And so if you were to go to Walmart and look at the toys, it has the Rogue as a party member.
Yeah, they said he was a member of the group, but they also said really early in the previews and the documentation, they said that he became the Lord of the city. They didn't mention it was Neverwinter, but they said that he became the Lord that they had to stop, that he's the one that convinced them to steal the artifact, and they have to go get it back.
Yeah.
Get it back.
I didn't get that impression from anything I saw.
So here's the point. Here's the point where everybody figured out he was the bad guy, and this had nothing to do with promotional materials. People were genuinely confused because that information had not yet appeared yet. And that was when D&D Beyond released the character stats for every major party member, including the rogue. He had a stat ability, and this was 2 weeks before the movie release for early viewing. They released the stat block, and the stat block for him is you get advantage on a attack roll if the person you're attacking trusts you. And that was the point where everyone was like, don't look at the character stats if you don't want this major spoiler. So no one knew that Forge was going to betray the team until that occurred. That was the first time that anyone knew that he was going to be a villain.
The very, very first preview said that they were a group of thieves who stole an item, and it showcased them stealing the item, and then Forge leading the town that they had to get the item back from. So the very, very first preview started hinting of the fact that Forge was going to be the bad guy.
The very first preview, the very first trailer said, we stole an item and we gave it to the wrong person. And then they immediately showed the people with the robes. So our inclination as viewers was supposed to believe that the Wizards of Fae were the bad guys, not the Neverwinter people. In fact, the rogue was constantly touted as a party member intentionally. And it was also set up as a surprise during the movie, which means that it wasn't supposed to be something that you were supposed to know about. So they showed the Lord Neverwinter, or they showed the Open Lord of Neverwinter in a studio or in a thing where they were participating. So the idea was, hey, they've got this plan where he's letting them through so they could steal this artifact, is kind of like the general gist of what they were trying to tell people to believe.
You obviously didn't see the interviews I saw.
I've seen...
Hugh Grant even said he was the bad guy in a few interviews.
I'd have to see that, but...
That he was supposed to be...
Yeah, it's fine, but
the interview I saw with Hugh Grant is where I got he's in it for 3 seconds, because Hugh Grant was talking about the movie and he's being asked about his thing, and he's like, I'm barely in the movie, I'm in it for like 3 seconds.
He did say that, yeah.
And
that
makes it hard to picture him as the villain.
Yeah, they were intentionally misleading people so that wouldn't be a thing. I've seen all of the interviews. I've been all over every single trailer. I watched it multiple times. They've never suggested
if there was at some point he slipped it up or something, that was a mistake that happened along the line.
I've known since the first trailer that he was the villain, and it wasn't from just reading extra stuff in, because it was obvious in all the trailers I saw. Every trailer said that he was the bad guy. Every single one.
So, I mean, that might have been just like your instinct, but I don't think they were actively telling people that was the case.
And in all the interviews that I watched too, but that's okay. That's neither here nor there. I do want to talk about a couple more things before we're done with this.
Yeah.
First off, the creatures, other than just the races, were amazing. Like the little baby rust monsters up in the rafters fighting over the pendant.
Little
hours, the gelatinous cube, the displacer beast. It was an interesting iteration of the displacer beast where his tentacle actually projected an illusion instead of like the displacement effect that they talk about in the book. It actually produced another illusionary displacer.
I think that's what the displacer effect is, because it's like it's not, the displacer is he's like, there's only one of them obviously, because like it's just like he's being seen somewhere else from reflecting light. But I feel like I do think that this was a great iteration of that. The ids, the intellect devourers, are wild. They are huge. They're massive compared to how they're supposed to be.
And the very, very first Displacer Beast in the D&D Monster Manual, the way they described it was that a strange effect of the creature made them appear like 2 feet to the side, is what it was. And now it's actually an illusion projection thing. But that's okay. Like I said, I love that iteration.
Oh, yeah. I homebrew almost every monster, except for I actually didn't homebrew anything about the Beholder, because I thought that was going to be a tough battle by itself.
I love Beholders.
But, oh, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I'd probably want to do something like that for a Displacer Beast. Like, I could see myself being like, yeah, this could be an interesting iteration for them to fight. But, man, it was... The monsters were great. Utilizing the druid's ability to like poke the finger out, then turn into a small snake and start pulling people out was, one, fucking fantastic, and two, all of that happening where they have to wait for the thing to drop and then turn in a wild shape, get out, pull them out. They would have died. They would have died.
It was totally great. What was the other thing I was going to point out? Oh, there were a couple of other callbacks too. Of course, the fat dragon from Forgotten Realms.
They jumped into the cube. They jumped into the cube just as it was dropping. Like they had that timed. Yeah. Like she was watching the thing.
Every 6 seconds, they take I think 66 damage, and they're level 5 party.
Right. They roll really, really low damage numbers.
According to the stats that D&D officially released for them, they're a level 5 party.
Right, but they would have had to roll really, really low damage numbers for the gelatinous cube.
Yeah, it took them almost a minute to get out of there. Someone did like the frame count to determine how long it would have actually taken for that to happen.
But
almost a minute. So that's and there is no low amount of stuff for them. They would have all died. But I mean, like, that's the fun of the movie.
Right.
Is like you know, and again, that's a change that makes it more fun. That's not a change that hurts the movie at all.
And then we had the interpretation of the 1980s D&D characters in there, which was great. I thought it was
that was amazing.
I didn't see enough of them, but that's okay.
They won. They survived. They were the first ones to the cage.
Yeah.
Which means that they were safe.
Got trapped in the cage. Yeah. And then like Ed was like, no, this isn't right. This is a trap. And so
it's 3d6 acid damage apparently on a failed save.
Well, yeah, but there's other. If you read past it, there's more damage for specific stuff.
But the other thing, that there was a callback to even Critical Role that a lot of people didn't necessarily get. And it's only if you watch the third campaign of Critical Role. Because Fresh Cut Grass, which is the scent that Simon sends out to the audience in his little roadshow, is the name of Sam Riegel's little robot cleric character in the third campaign. Fresh Cut Grass. So that was an acknowledged Easter egg cameo moment.
There was another, and I forget, I didn't know that, but I saw a video that was talking about it, and apparently in regular D&D too, that's also a reference in regular D&D. Fresh Cut Grass.
Right. But in this case, Fresh Cut Grass is actually Sam Riegel's character because he's an automaton type of cleric in that campaign, and his inventor always named their creations after their favorite smells. So Fresh Cut Grass was his name, so they called him FCG, Fresh Cut Grass, throughout the campaign.
I think it like fits on multiple levels for people who knew the D&D reference and for people who knew the Critical Role reference. They really couldn't fit.
And the portrayal of the different spells was outstanding.
Like a major illusion failing Man, that's a failed deception roll
right?
right there. The way that Chris Pine's character just kind of goes out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Ah,
and every time Chris Pine broke into song, it felt like a D&D bard. It totally did.
Everyone's like, where are the magic for Chris Pine? And the answer is, he's inspiring. He is a warrior bard, not a support bard. So he's got a reinforced lute. That is his actual weapon.
Yes,
his actual weapon is reinforced lute, and he has constantly given characters inspiration before they go off and try something. Because like you have 10 minutes of inspiration, so he like stands up and is like there's a point where he's convincing everybody to do their best and that he believes in them, and he's like, I believe in you, and I believe in you, and I believe in you. Just passing out inspiration.
And then he used the bardic ability to just use magic items better when he used the tablet to bring Holga back, because in the oldest versions of D&D, that was a bard and rogue ability. Use magic items. I mean, spellcasters could do it innately, but bards and rogues had on their skill check a percentage chance to use magic items as if they were a spellcaster. This is before the bard was heavily a spellcaster. He had just a few small spells.
Well, anyone can. Now I don't know if that was specifically a reference, because in 5e, which this was clearly based on, anyone can use magic items unless it explicitly states you can't.
But it was a little bit of a callback to that, and they did fit some small callbacks to older editions, even though they mainly focused it on 5th edition.
There was all of those. I looked at the stat blocks for those as well. I don't think that's the case, because anyone can use that tablet according to the magic item stuff. Each of the magic items that you saw used are all unique to the movie and have officially released stats from D&D Beyond.
Right.
And you can be anybody to use that specific item.
Right, but the callback ability was there because it's something a bard does instead of obvious direct magic. That's something a bard would be more likely to do, is use an item.
Yeah, he was using Vicious Mockery. He was using Inspiration, Bardic Inspiration. And he used his lute a lot. Apparently, his lute also has thunder damage attached to it as well. I believe 1d8 thunder damage.
Yeah, and he was the leader and the planner of the group, because he had the highest charisma and one of the higher intelligence scores, because he was obviously the planner and the leader, and he did that role quite well in a blundering sort of way, which is of course very D&D.
Yeah, he was certainly the face of the group.
He was the face man, absolutely. Holga, on the other hand, was such a great warrior.
Yeah, I think our bard of our campaign on the way to your house.
You just got.
What was that?
You just cut out completely, Lurch.
Yeah, you just cut out, Lurch. I don't think you've been talking this whole time. What were you saying?
Something's blinking on your screen too.
Something's blinking on my screen?
I think it's.
Yeah, your face is frozen.
No, he's moving on mine, but I keep getting like a little loading thing.
Yeah, I saw like a green flash happen several times before he froze finally.
Oh. Well,
that's okay. It's near the end. What were you gonna say, Lurch?
I was just saying I haven't been able to get to the character sheets because of whatever. But I was looking at some estimates on what their level is within the movie, right? Like their character sheets that they put out, you said are at level 5, but
yeah,
that could also just be them on the character sheets for what they give out to the people, starting at a lower level for people to kind of grow into, maybe, or something.
No.
And,
That's what they were saying that it actually is. I'm sorry, go on.
Part of the reason why I'm saying that is because the owlbear is a CR3 creature that a moon druid wouldn't be able to do until she was level 9.
I mean, also in D&D campaigns, not all characters are the same level either. So it's like, yeah, the moon druid, first of all, she wild shaped like 4 times in one scene before you know, yeah. So the most I want to say homebrew of them, if she was CR or level 5, is it would be her. But if not, she would, you know, she would be a level 9, while the rest of the cast is like lower level, and that does happen in D&D campaigns too.
Yeah. So was her character sheet level 9 or level 5 on what they released?
I did not pay attention. I read the stats. I didn't pay attention to all of the levels. I know that 3 of them were like level 5. And I think like the main party is level 5. They explicitly picked up the druid, which was unknown to everybody except for Simon.
Yeah.
And he barely knew her. So she could have easily been a level 9, while the rest of them are like level 5, which is why she had such kick-ass moments.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'd have to... I downloaded them all to D&D Beyond, so,
right
you know, it should be...
oh no, this is just should have the actual sheet.
The paladin is definitely a higher level than everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah, the NPC is like, check out my cool NPC. He's level 15. You guys couldn't beat him.
Yeah.
Gosh,
anyway.
the character stats. It was great that they released them. It gave like more insight on them. They have a lot of like unique features and stuff like that. The hither thither staff I really like. I might also introduce that eventually in our campaign because I love the fucking portal gun. Like from Portal. God, that's what that is.
It is. It totally is. I love the way they used it to break into that treasure room.
I like that it didn't go to plan. Like, they did everything right, and they still didn't get the treasure. That happens all the fucking time in D&D.
Yeah, that was totally D&D. We are over in time, guys. There's just so much we could wax on this particular movie because this was one of the most anticipated. I've been chomping at the bit to talk about it because I went to the early preview 2 weeks before it.
I mean, I'm not opposed to talking about it again next week.
I have no problem continuing and do a little bit more next week, but we're going to call it quits for this week because we're already over by about 14 minutes. We have gone over longer, but I've got them trying to call me over to my MMO now too, and everything else. They're saying like, "Where are you?" That's
sure.
Getting interrupted.
I wouldn't have forced you to stay, Doc.
But that's okay. I love this discussion, even when we disagree. It's always lively, and we will talk some more about this next week. More than likely, it will be the Mario movie that I watched this weekend. I have a feeling that's one you guys are going to watch too.
I'd like to.
The timing, I can't guarantee on where I'll be on the timing, but it's definitely a movie I'm going to be watching in the theater.
Right.
I have a lot of things I'm in the middle of at the moment, so.
Because Ralphie kind of wasn't sure if he wanted to see that one.
Well, I'm down. I want to kiss my wife goodnight before she goes to bed fully, which should happen in the next 15 minutes.
What I was saying about it is Ralphie, if he wants to see 65, then we might arrange to go see Mario there, Angel, if we can find time.
Yeah. I'm not sure what my schedule's like now that I'm starting to go back to St. Louis, but I hopefully will know by next week.
Well, yeah, we don't know about this weekend though, probably, huh? Uh,
Yeah, I have no idea what the schedule's like.
well, let me know when you do know, and we'll see if we can fit it in. Especially
Absolutely.
if I'm not going with Ralphie, because that'll get you an extra movie, and then you only have to pay for gas to get me there. Because I cover the movie. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's cost effective right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I will
All
talk
right.
to you guys
I'll see
later,
you guys
and
later.
see everybody next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. Remember, you can get movie passes to both the AMC and the Alamo here in Springfield for just a low monthly fee. I don't know about AMC, but the Alamo offers a companion ticket, which is what I have, which means I'm not breaking the rules by bringing somebody else. I'm actually doing how the ticket works. We prefer to actually pay for things as they go and not cheat the system. Everybody have a good time, and we'll catch you next time. Peace out.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.